I'm Hailey. I'm the HBOT coordinator here at HealthFit, and since birth, I have lived in Pasadena and Altadena. For myself and with my family, we're very on-the-go people. We're very athletic. For myself, I'm very type A. I never really skip a beat or take a chance to breathe. My parents had my older brother and I at a very young age. They had us right out of high school, and they worked extremely hard for what we had. My parents both were working 2, 3 jobs while we were growing up. Till this day, they still do. They do a lot of things on the side just to provide extra for us. My younger brother, he is 9 years younger than I am, makes me more of a mom than a sister, but taking on that role, everything that I have worked for has gone towards him. My life insurance is under him. All my bank accounts are under him in the case that anything has happened to me. But I do everything for him, so he has a better life growing up than what I had had. Life before the fire was always pretty chaotic between my parents' work. They're traveling right now, my younger brother's schedule, my schedule. We're always on the go once again, so we get up rather early, we go to sleep super late just to make sure that everything's done. The day the fire started was actually a rather chaotic one already. My dad had to be picked up from the airport at midnight, Monday night, Tuesday morning. I got up to work out, but there is a crazy windstorm, so I did my best in our garage, but with the wind, lucky for me, my biggest worry that morning was a tree going into my car and scraping it. But little did we know that night we would have to evacuate. It was around 6:30 when we had to pick up my brother from practice, and the way we go to pick him up is through Eaton Canyon when the fire started, and we just have on video, on recording, the entire mountain lighting up. And between us picking him up and getting home, which is around 5 or 6 miles, it took us an hour to get home. From there, we can already see the fire by our house, so we really just packed up what we could. Right when we decided to evacuate, we live on a cul-de-sac and we're the last house on that street. A tree and power line went down in the middle. We were very fortunate to have neighbors help out to cut this tree down. We moved it aside the best we could, and my only thought was just to make sure that we got out and my brother got out. Even if I had to go over the tree with my car, over the power line, that was just our first thought, was to get out of that street. We knew with how far the fire had spread between it starting and by the time we got home that we would have to evacuate. Whether it was for a couple days, we didn't know, so we grabbed what we could. But just seeing how far it had spread in a matter of an hour because of the winds was very worrisome. Even by the time we were evacuating, the fire was pretty much directly above us in the mountains. I think a big thing that we took for granted is between the mountains and us, there's 4 or 5 blocks, and we never thought it would get to us, but unfortunately, it did. We grabbed our important documents, of course. We packed clothes for the next couple of days, so I do have my HealthFit shirt because I was planning on coming to work the next day. My main thing was making sure my brother was taken care of. My mom is away for work right now, so getting a hold of her and seeing what she needed was a little difficult, but we ensured to grab any important documents. We grabbed some of my mom's jewelry that we knew she treasured and were just passed down to her. We grabbed clothing that we would need, and that was pretty much it, just because we had an hour or so to get out. My dad and I might have not done the smartest thing during evac. We essentially, out of the 3 cars we had at the house, we filled one with our stuff. We drove to my grandparents' house, which is 3, 4 miles from us. We dropped off my brother, my dog, and left one of the cars there. We drove back up to the house just to get the other car and see what we can do. We had to leave our car at the end of the street just because it was already blocked, but we grabbed a couple more items. We drove back, and we were just up all night anticipating, watching the wind, watching the fire alerts just to see what we can do and if our house was still there. So by the time we got settled at my grandparents after the evacuation, it was around midnight. That morning, my dad and I didn't get much sleep, so it was 5, 6 o'clock. We decided maybe we'll try to go back to our house to see if our house is there, if we could even get up there. Not even a mile from my grandparents' house when we were going up, we can see that there was a lot of active fires. on one of the main streets to our house, things were just lighting up on fire, blowing up around us. There was fire on all three sides of us, and between me and you, there were just fires right directly in front of us, and we just had to reverse out. There was no way for us to even cross any streets. So we essentially knew that our house was gone. My dad is very stubborn. I think in a time like this, it's very hard to sit still, especially for my dad, knowing that he didn't necessarily come from anything and everything he's worked for is in that house. And it's even harder with my mom not being here because he blames himself for a lot that has happened in the last couple of days of not taking more and taking things for granted. My dad wanted to go up to the house even before we knew that our house was gone. He just wanted to see if there was anything to salvage, if our house was by some miracle standing still. Um, we've lost a lot in our life, family included. My immediate family is essentially my core. And for my dad to say that he wanted to go back up without a confirmation of if our house was standing or not, and knowing what we saw when we tried to get back up to the house, it made me a lot more anxious. I think I played it off really well because I had to ensure that I was there for my brother. Um, but deep down, I did know our house wasn't there. I think I was in denial when I found out. Our neighbor called my dad. My dad had texted my mom and my brother and I, stating that our house was gone. I think I'm still in shock. I don't know if I've processed it fully. There's little glimpses here and there when I get really upset throughout the day, and I'll get upset, I'll cry. For one, we went grocery shopping, and there's a little shade in the back of my car that I use to cover whatever I buy. We put all the groceries in from Costco, and my shade wasn't there. So I got mad and I started crying, and my brother was like, "We were hoping you did not notice that." But there's little bursts of moments here. I think it'll settle in this week as I try to resume some normalcy with work and school. My family has never been one to ask for help, especially me. I never really asked for help. I'm one of those people that will do it no matter how tired I am, no matter how overworked I am. But seeing our family, friends, our community come together to really support us during this time has meant more to us than anyone will ever know. Um, I was very fortunate to have even my HealthFit family step in when I originally found out, by setting up a GoFundMe, everyone with their generosity of their donations, everyone just constantly checking in on us. It has meant more than anyone could ask for. I think our biggest challenge right now is finding a new normal. We are not really sure what that entails yet. Obviously, today is day one of Pasadena kind of going back to normal with school and work. So doing our best to make sure that we resume normal lives. I believe we've been on the more fortunate side of this event, having a roof over our heads still. My grandparents have been very gracious in letting us stay there for the time being, whether it's temporary or whether we're there throughout our house renovations. Um, we've been very gracious with donations that we have received as well, but finding a new normal and balance in our daily lives right now. As simple as it sounds, not taking certain things for granted. Just last weekend, I was complaining that this is on me, but I am training for a half marathon and I had to go run. But from our neighborhood to where I run to, it's completely gone now. And that was my entire childhood. Um, Even cooking dinner, something simple like that. My dad and we bicker and play rock, paper, scissors on who's going to cook right now. And now we don't even have a kitchen to go and cook in. Just little things like that. During this time, we do appreciate everyone's texts and prayers towards our family. There have been a multitude of them, and we're doing our best to keep up with it and just thank every one of you guys for checking in on us during this time of need. During this time, we do have a GoFundMe set up as well. We do appreciate anything, whether it's big or small, or even sharing our story a little bit more about what we're going through will help us. We appreciate your donations no matter how big or small, whether it is through our GoFundMe or as simple as bringing us a meal or snack for the time being. Thank you for listening to my family's story. Behind this, it's not just a house that we lost, but years of memories, years of parties, years of very cherished moments that we now lost as well. But with your generosity and your donations, we are able to build a new and better life for our family going forward.